Hello and welcome to a VectorTuts Quick Tip screencast. My name is Cheryl Graham. This is a video complement to Yaroslav's written quick tip on the new pattern creation tools in Illustrator CS6. To create a pattern from scratch, open the Pattern Options dialog under the Window menu. Click Make Pattern. And when you do that, you get this message telling you that a new pattern has been added to the Swatches panel and that this new pattern will update once you exit pattern editing mode. You can of course turn this off for future pattern making sessions. Now you can see there's a new swatch in the panel and it's blank at the moment. When you're in pattern editing mode, it's kind of like using isolation mode for editing objects in that everything else that might be on your artboard is grayed out and inaccessible. Now you can draw new objects, and as soon as you do, you see that a pattern is created. You can duplicate, move, rotate, change colors, and add new objects, and as you do that, the pattern updates on the fly. If you add or move an object partway outside the square tile area, you can see that the pattern updates accordingly. Once you're done, click Done, and you can see that the swatch has updated in the panel, and you can now fill any object with the pattern you just made. You can start with an existing object and make a pattern from it. You can go back to the Pattern Options panel from the Window menu, then choose Make Pattern like we just did, or you can go to Object, Pattern, Make. And there's the message again, and the new swatch in the Swatches panel. The first thing you can do if you want is give your pattern a name in this field. Next, you can choose how the pattern will be tiled. Right now we have a simple grid, or you can choose Brick by Row, which offsets every other row of objects, like a brick wall. You can choose how much you want the offset to be. Right now it's offset by half the width of the object, but you can put it at 1/4 or even 2/5. Next we have Brick by Column, which means that the offset happens vertically instead of left and right. Next is Hex by Column. This draws a hexagonal tile around the object, which aligns with the outer edges of the object, and the brick pattern is offset vertically. Last is Hex by Row, and I'm not sure why they changed the order here. I would expect it to go row, column, but anyway, as you can see, the hexagon is drawn with the angles at the top and bottom, and the offset is done by row. I'll set it back to grid. In the next section, we can adjust the size of the tile. So if I decrease the values, the pattern becomes tighter. You can adjust the tile proportionally, or you can break the link by clicking this icon and adjust the height and width independently. If I make the tile larger than the object and put some air around it, you can see that the pattern is now looser. If you want to get back to the default, click Size Tile to Art, which will snap it back. If you check Move Tile with Art, it will do just that. If I move the art, the tile follows it. And if you uncheck it, you can move the artwork independently of the tile, and you can see how that affects the pattern and see a thumbnail of the swatch here. The spacing can be adjusted, and that's pretty much the same thing as resizing the tile. In fact, if I change these numbers, you can see the width and height change in the grayed out boxes above. You'll notice that Size Tile to Art is still checked, so to get it to snap back, I have to uncheck it and check it again. The artwork is always fully editable. I could change the color, for instance, and the whole pattern updates. If I tighten up the spacing again and have an overlap, I can specify how I want the shapes to overlap. I can have the left or right in front, or the top and bottom in front, by clicking these icons. The bottom section of the panel has to do with how the pattern is displayed on the artboard. You can choose to show fewer copies or more, and you can set an opacity level for the copies. So depending on your preference, you might want the copies to be lighter so you can focus on the original shapes. You can also choose to show or hide the tile edge, so if that's in your way, you can turn it off. And you can also show the swatch bounds, which is a dotted line. In the upper left of the panel, there is the Pattern Tile tool, and this simply lets you adjust the tile bounds manually rather than entering values in the width and height fields or in the vertical and horizontal spacing fields. When you're satisfied with your pattern, click Done. You can also click Save a Copy, which will save a new swatch, and then you can make changes and save another copy and another all day long. So it's not technically a copy, it's a different iteration. Think of it as save as, but instead of saving a new document, you're saving a new swatch every time within the same document. So I'll click Done, and you can see that my swatch is updated. It started out as blue and now it's green, and now I can use this to fill any object. If I resize the object, the pattern size stays the same unless I go to my preferences and check Transform Pattern Tiles, and now it will scale along with the object it's filling. There are a few things to be aware of when working with the pattern creation tools. Remember, I had these other objects on my artboard, and when you go to make a pattern, you enter a kind of isolation mode. You can't access any other objects in your document and pull them into your pattern. So I'm going to exit pattern editing mode, and you'll see that even though I didn't actually change anything and it exited the pattern mode, a pattern swatch was still created. If you change your mind frequently, you can end up with a lot of random pattern swatches. So if I want to use two objects for my pattern, I have to select them both and then make the pattern. I can draw new objects as part of this pattern, but I can't access anything that might already be on the artboard. Notice that I have my layer color set to violet, and let's say the object I want to use for my pattern is red. When I go into pattern editing mode and I want to manipulate that object, you can see that the highlight color changes to red, and you can't change that. So if you're working with red objects, it can be hard to see the edges. Lastly, I have a group here. You can see that it's a group in my Layers panel. And when I make a pattern from the group, however, it's as if it's no longer grouped. I can move each part of the group independently with a selection tool. It can be frustrating at first if you're trying to move or rotate the whole thing. I mean, that's why you use a group in the first place, right? But you just have to get into the habit of marquee selecting every object in your group to move it as a group. Overall, the new pattern creation tools have made it a lot easier and way more fun to create seamlessly tiled patterns. Have fun!